They thought they had you figured out, thought they could map your every move, dictate your path, keep you caged in the illusion they built for you. They mistook your silence for submission, your patience for weakness. They whispered among themselves, convinced that they controlled the game, that you were just another pawn moving predictably, unknowingly playing by their rules. But what they never saw, what they never even considered, was that while they were watching you, you were studying them. While they were trying to shape your world, you were already dismantling theirs. They think they own you, that your fate is bound by their expectations, by their opinions, by the weight of the chains they so carefully crafted around you. But what they don't realize, what they refuse to see, is that you were never playing by their rules. You were always 3 steps ahead, watching, calculating, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Because the greatest trick isn't deception. The greatest trick is letting them believe they are in control while you pull every string behind the scenes. You are not just a player in their game. You are the architect of an entirely different one they don't understand, one they can't anticipate, one they can't control. They set the board, arranged the pieces, moved them exactly where they wanted, but what happens when the board itself burns? What happens when the game shifts, when the rules no longer apply, when you stop moving predictably and start creating chaos? They never accounted for this. They never expected you to be anything other than what they dictated. They told themselves you were weak, that you needed them, that without their approval, without their permission, you were nothing. They shaped you with their lies, built your prison out of their doubts, and you let them. You let them believe you were caged, let them assume you had no way out. But what they never understood is that while they were busy locking doors, you were finding the exits they didn't know existed. You are not broken, you are not lost, you are not what they said you were. You are the shadow they didn't see coming, the storm they thought was a drizzle, the force they never prepared for. You are the disruption to their carefully constructed reality, the unpredictability that shatters their false sense of control. They believed they had you cornered, but the truth is they never even saw the game you were playing. And now it's too late. Now you are about to show them exactly what happens when the one they underestimated decides to rise. They built walls around you, not with bricks and mortar, but with rules, expectations, and whispered limitation. Every time you tried to step beyond their invisible boundaries, they pulled you back with words disguised as concern, with traditions clothed in shackles, with the illusion that the world only functions one way, their way. They told you who you were supposed to be before you even had the chance to discover it yourself. They decided what was acceptable, what was respectable, and the moment you questioned it, the moment you showed signs of something they couldn't predict, they labeled you as dangerous. They don't want you thinking for yourself. They don't want you realizing that their rules are just constructs, that their authority is a thinly veiled illusion designed to keep you in line. Society doesn't crave individuality, it demands obedience. It thrives on predictability, on uniformity, on the comfort of knowing that everyone is moving in the same direction. And when you don't conform, when you don't fit their mold, they call you reckless, they call you lost, they call you crazy, because that's what they do when they don't understand something. They try to kill it before it has the chance to grow into something they can't control. The truth is they fear you, not because you're violent, not because you're a threat in the way they paint you, but because you refuse to be predictable. You refuse to be just another piece on their chessboard. They've spent their entire lives learning how to manipulate, how to steer people into the places they want them to be, how to control their reactions, their thoughts, their entire existence. But you don't react the way they expect. You don't move when they say move. You don't break when they apply pressure. And that terrifies them. They will tell you that you need to play along, that stepping outside the lines will leave you alone, that freedom is dangerous. But understand this, their fear of your unpredictability is not your burden to carry. Their discomfort with your refusal to be controlled is not your problem to solve. They have built their entire existence around certainty, around rules, around a fragile sense of order. But chaos is not destruction. Chaos is not recklessness. Chaos is breaking free from the script they forced upon you. The Joker mindset isn't about anarchy for the sake of anarchy. It's about rejecting the idea that the game they built is the only one that can be played. It's about realizing that the moment you stop caring about their approval, their threats, their desperate attempts to hold power over you, is the moment you become truly untouchable. They told you that you had to follow the path they laid out. They convinced you that deviation was failure. But what they didn't realize is that some of us were never meant to walk in lines. Some of us were born to carve a path so unpredictable, so wild, that they can't do anything but watch as their illusion of control crumbles beneath their feet. They thought they were pulling the strings, that every step you took was dictated by the invisible forces they had carefully woven around you. They mistook your silence for submission, your compliance for weakness, your patience for ignorance. But what they never realized, what they never even considered, was that you saw through the game from the very beginning. They were so busy crafting their illusion of control that they never stopped to question if you were simply letting them believe they had it. They built the stage, placed you in a role you never asked for, and fed you the lines they wanted you to repeat. Friends who whispered limitations in the name of concern. Family who told you to stay safe by staying small. Institutions that promised structure while they slowly drained you of any sense of self. They wanted obedience, not individuality, agreement, not understanding. They played their hand so well, believing they were guiding you, shaping you, molding you into the perfect piece in their game. But what they didn't see was that you were never a piece at all. You were the player, studying every move, memorizing every tactic, waiting for the moment to flip the entire board. They spoke of success in ways that only served them, made you believe that security was found in following their rules. They dangled approval like a prize, made rejection feel like a punishment. The game was simple. Keep you craving their validation so you never look for your own power. Keep you distracted with fear so you never question if the cage they built around you was ever locked. But here's the truth. They were never protecting you. They were protecting their own comfort. Because if you rise, if you step beyond their reach, if you prove that their way was never the only way, then they have to face the reality they have spent their entire lives avoiding. That their control was never real. That you were never truly theirs to manipulate. That every time they thought they were pulling you in, you were just giving them enough rope to hang themselves with. Real strength doesn't come from playing by their rules. It comes from realizing that the only reason they wanted you to follow them in the first place was because they were afraid of what you could become if you didn't. It comes from recognizing that the game was never in their favor. Because the moment you decide to stop playing, the moment you reject their reality and carve your own, they lose every ounce of power they thought they had. They thought they were leading you. They thought they were teaching you. They thought they had control. But the joke's on them, because while they were busy playing you, you were rewriting the entire game, and now they don't even know the rules anymore. There was a moment, maybe you remember it too well, when the weight became unbearable, when it felt like the walls were closing in, like the fight had drained everything from you, like every step forward only led to another setback. You told yourself you were strong, you told yourself you could handle it, but there came a time when even the strongest hands start to shake. When even the sharpest minds begin to doubt, when even the loudest hearts begin to whisper, is this all there is? This is what they wanted. They counted on this moment. They didn't just expect you to break, they orchestrated it. Every obstacle, every rejection, every failure, they built the road to your despair, brick by brick, and then they stood back and watched as you walked it alone. They made sure the world felt cold. They made sure you felt abandoned. They made sure that when you finally dropped to your knees exhausted, there was no hand reaching out to pull you back up. It wasn't just one betrayal. It wasn't just one failure. It was the accumulation of everything, the whispers behind your back, the so-called friends who vanished when you needed them most, the nights spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if you had already lost before you even had the chance to fight. It was the moments when you screamed into the silence and the silence screamed back, when you reached out for help only to find empty air, when you searched for meaning and found nothing but the echoes of your own doubts. You started questioning yourself, didn't you? Started wondering if maybe they were right, if maybe you were too much or not enough, if maybe you had imagined the fire inside you, if maybe you should just let it die. That was the moment. That was the edge of the cliff where they wanted you standing. Because when people like you start questioning their worth, the world breathes a sigh of relief. They don't have to fight you if they can make you fight yourself. And for a while, you let it happen. You let the darkness take root. You let the lies grow into truth. You let the weight settle onto your shoulders, telling yourself that maybe this is just how it ends, that maybe you are just another story of potential lost to the cruelty of reality. But something happened. Something so small they never noticed it. Something so quiet they didn't hear it. A thought, a whisper, a flicker of rebellion in the abyss. What if they're wrong? What if the world isn't closing in on you? What if it's breaking apart for you to escape? What if this isn't the end, but the moment before the beginning? Because that's the truth. They pushed you to your breaking point, thinking it would be your downfall, but they never considered that some people don't break. Some people turn pressure into fire. Some people turn pain into power. Some people reach the edge and don't fall. They jump and they fly. And now something is about to change, something they never saw coming. Because you are done waiting, you are done doubting, you are done playing the game they stacked against you. They wanted you weak, they wanted you to quit, but what they never understood is that the ones who survive the darkness don't just walk out, they rise from it, and they never ever go back. There was no thunderous revelation, no dramatic sign from the universe, just a moment. A single moment when the noise fell away, when the lies unraveled, when the weight they placed on you began to feel like something you could shake off. It was the moment you saw the truth, not just glimpsed it, not just considered it, but truly saw it for what it was. They never had control. They never held the power. They only made you believe they did. Every rule they set, every expectation they forced on you, every warning they whispered in your ear was nothing more than a trick, a carefully orchestrated illusion designed to keep you in place, to keep you doubting, to keep you playing small. They didn't create the limits you lived by. You did. You accepted them, carried them, gave them life, not because you were weak, but because you were taught to believe that questioning them would lead to ruin. But now you see it. The bars of the cage were never locked. The walls they built were never solid. The power they held was never real. It was borrowed from your fear, from your hesitation, from your unwillingness to challenge what you were told was true. And the second you decide to stop accepting their version of reality, their game collapses. The board flips. The whole structure they spent years building turns to dust. And that's when you understand. Chaos isn't destruction. Chaos is liberation. It's what happens when false order crumbles, when rules that were never meant to serve you are discarded like dead weight. Chaos is the moment you stop waiting for permission. It's the moment you break out of the lines they drew for you and start carving your own path with no regard for their discomfort. Because here's the truth they never wanted you to realize. Their approval is worthless. Their validation is nothing. They spent years trying to convince you that your worth depended on them, on whether they accepted you, on whether they deemed you good enough, on whether they let you in. But what they never expected, what they never prepared for, was the day you stopped seeking their acceptance altogether. You don't need their validation. You don't need their permission. You don't need them to understand or support or applaud you. Because real power comes when you stop needing anything from the people who once held you down. Real power is looking at them, at their opinions, at their rules, at their carefully curated expectations, and realizing they hold no weight anymore. This is the shift, the moment they feared, the moment you stop looking to them for answers, the moment you recognize that their world, their control, their illusion, it was never meant for you. And now you're done playing by their script. Now you're writing your own. Everything changes the moment you stop playing their game. The moment you realize that the rules weren't written for you. They were written to control you, to keep you predictable, manageable, easy to manipulate. They wanted you chasing their approval, bending to their expectations, believing that the only way to succeed was to follow the path they laid out for you. But now, that path is nothing more than a relic of a life you no longer recognize, because now, you've rewritten the rules. You don't seek approval. You don't need validation. You've detached from the illusion they built, and that makes you untouchable. The moment you stop craving acceptance is the moment you become dangerous, because nothing they say, nothing they do, nothing they try can control someone who no longer reacts. That's what they never prepared for. They built their entire strategy around your compliance, around your desire to be included, around your fear of standing alone. But now you aren't waiting for a seat at their table. You're burning the whole damn thing down. This is where the Joker mentality comes in. Not recklessness, not mindless destruction, but absolute detachment from the constraints they placed on you. They want you to care about the rules. They want you to fear stepping too far, speaking too loudly, becoming too much. But you've embraced the unknown. You've stopped fearing the consequences of defying their expectations, and that makes you unpredictable. It makes you uncontrollable. It makes you the kind of force they can't contain. Pain was once your prison, the weight of it, the burden of it, the way it seeped into your bones and made every movement feel heavier. But now pain isn't something that slows you down. It's the very thing that fuels you. Every betrayal, every rejection, every moment they tried to break you down was just another log on the fire that's now burning inside of you. You don't run from pain. You don't fear it. You take it, you mold it, you use it as the driving force behind every move you make. Because pain is only a weapon when you let it weaken you. When you let it sharpen you instead, it becomes the most powerful tool you have. And now you're done reacting. You've spent enough time dancing to their rhythm, responding to their manipulations, living in a state of defense. But defense is not the way forward. Defense is not the way you rise. You are no longer the one being played. You are the one calling the shots. You dictate the terms. You decide the pace. You create the narrative. They move when you say move. They adjust to you, not the other way around. They tried to keep you locked in their version of the world, but now You've stepped outside of it. Now you see the bigger picture, and once you see it, there's no going back. You don't just break the rules, you rewrite them in a way they never saw coming. They told you to bury it, to forget, to move on. They wanted you to suppress it, to pretend the scars weren't there, to smile as if nothing ever happened, because your pain made them uncomfortable. Your struggle exposed their lies. They wanted you silent, compliant, broken enough to be controlled, but just whole enough to keep functioning under their rules. But that version of you, the one that played along, the one that apologized for being too much, the one that shrank to fit inside their expectations, no longer exists. You don't erase pain. You don't numb it. You don't deny its presence. You do what they fear the most. You channel it. You take every wound, every betrayal, every loss, and you sharpen it into a weapon. They thought pain would make you weak. They thought suffering would keep you on your knees. But pain, real pain, isn't a weight that drags you down. It's the fire that makes you unstoppable. This is where the shift happens. This is where you stop waiting, where you stop asking, where you stop begging, because power isn't given, it's taken. They made you believe you had to earn it, that you had to prove yourself worthy in their eyes before they allowed you a taste of success, of freedom, of recognition. But you see the truth now. You see that the people who sit on thrones were never waiting for permission. They weren't the ones following orders. They weren't the ones seeking approval. They were the ones who took what they wanted without apology. And now, you do the same. You don't look to them for guidance. You don't seek out their advice, their validation, their opinions on who you should be or what you should do. You don't wait for them to open doors. You break them down. Because leaders aren't made in comfortable spaces. They aren't molded by acceptance. They aren't created by approval. Leaders rise from the ashes of suffering. They are shaped in the fire of rejection, in the trenches of battle, in the moments when the world turns against them and they refuse to fall. You have been through the kind of storms that leave most people shattered. You have walked through fire and emerged stronger. And now you see what they never wanted you to see. Your suffering was never a weakness. It was your weapon. Your pain was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to forge you into something they could never control. This is the moment when you stop seeing yourself as the victim of your story and start seeing yourself as the architect of your own destiny. This is the moment when you realize that the darkness they feared in you was never something to be ashamed of. It was your greatest power. And now, you are done hiding it. Now, you are ready to unleash it. They thought you had fallen. They thought they had won. They mistook your stillness for surrender, your silence for defeat. But while they were celebrating your downfall, while they were gloating over what they thought was the end of you, something was happening beneath the surface. You weren't broken. You weren't finished. You were preparing. You were sharpening your mind, building your strength, reconstructing yourself in a way they never saw coming. And now, the version of you that emerges is one they are not equipped to handle. This is the silent rise, the part they never accounted for. Because the loud ones, the ones who react in anger, the ones who lash out in desperation, are easy to control. But the ones who move in silence, the ones who take their pain and transform it into discipline, the ones who stop explaining themselves, stop defending themselves, stop seeking any form of approval, those are the ones who cannot be stopped. They wanted you loud because loud is predictable. Loud is emotional, reactive, easy to manipulate. But true power doesn't announce itself. True power moves without permission. You've learned that now. You've learned the art of detachment, the mastery of control, not just over your circumstances, but over your own mind. And that is what terrifies them the most. Because a person who controls their emotions, who does not react out of impulse, who does not seek validation from anyone, is a person they can no longer manipulate. They look at you now and they don't recognize what they see. You don't flinch the way you used to. You don't rise to their bait. Don't engage in the petty games they set to distract you. They throw obstacles in your way, and instead of breaking, you adjust. They spread rumors, try to turn people against you, and instead of fighting back, you let them talk. Because you understand now that words are nothing, that perception is nothing, that the only thing that truly matters is the force you are becoming. And so, you rise, not with noise, not with desperate displays of power, but with an unshakable presence that shifts the energy in any room you walk into. You move with purpose, not seeking attention, but commanding respect. You make no declarations, yet people feel the change. You don't beg for a seat at the table. They find themselves offering you one, afraid of what will happen if they don't. They thought they had seen the last of you. They thought they had stripped you of everything that made you dangerous. But what they didn't realize is that you were never dangerous because of what you had. You were dangerous because of what you could become. And now, that moment is here. Now, they don't just see you, they feel you. And there is nothing they can do to stop what's coming next. You stand now at a threshold, a place where fear no longer holds you hostage. They wanted to use fear as your chains, to keep you small, to keep you in line, to make you hesitate when faced with a challenge. They painted loss as something to avoid at all costs, as something that would break you, define you, end you. But you understand now, don't. Loss isn't something to fear, it's a tool, a weapon, a gift in disguise. Because in the depths of loss, you discovered your true power. You learn that what you lose is never lost forever. It's either transformed into something stronger or cleared away to make room for something better. You no longer fear what others try to use against you. You no longer fear failure because you've seen how it doesn't define you, it refines you. You no longer fear the unknown because the unknown is where you thrive. While they try to avoid the risk, avoid the discomfort, avoid the harsh lessons that come from pushing beyond the limits, you understand that it's in those very spaces that you are reborn. You have reached a point where the world's rules, the rules that once dictated your every move, no longer apply to you. They told you that you had to conform, that you had to fit in, that you had to follow the established paths if you wanted to succeed. They made you believe that the only way forward was to stay inside the lines, to follow the directions they laid out for you. But you've stepped outside of those lines. You've drawn your own map, charted your own course, and now you move through the world with a confidence that others can't touch. You are no longer bound by their structures, their expectations, their limits. The world is not here to shape you. It's here to witness your greatness. And they can't control what they don't understand. And they don't understand you. You are the wild card they never saw coming. You are the force of nature they can't predict, can't quantify, can't explain. They see your unpredictability as a threat. They see your defiance as rebellion. They see your strength as an anomaly, and it scares them. They want to box you in, label you, make sense of you, but they can't. And that's where their power over you evaporates. When they can't figure you out, when they can't predict your next move, when they don't know how you'll respond, they lose all their control. They are forced to watch as you write your own destiny, as you become an unstoppable force that no one can ever break. You are the storm they never prepared for, the shift they can't adjust to, the change they never saw coming. And in that space where they thought they had power, where they thought they could contain you, you are stepping into something far more powerful than they ever imagined. You are becoming the force of your own will, and that is where your true strength lies. They thought they had you figured out. They assumed that if they watched you long enough, if they studied your every move, they could predict your next step, control your reaction, and ultimately dictate your outcome. They placed their bets on your predictability, your desire for safety, your need for structure. They expected you to move the way they thought you would, to follow the script they wrote for you, to behave in a way that made sense to them. But the moment you broke free from their expectations, you turned the entire game on its head. They thought you were just another player. They thought you were just another cog in their system. But you are the chaos they never anticipated. You don't fit into their neatly organized world. You don't adhere to their rules. You don't walk the path they cleared for you. Instead, you carve your own. Instead, you rewrite the game. The more they try to predict you, the more you throw them off balance. They wait for you to fall in line, but instead you're always one step ahead, always adapting, always moving in a direction they never expected. And that's what makes you untouchable. The beauty of chaos is that it cannot be controlled. It cannot be contained. It's an ever-shifting force that defies structure, that thrives in uncertainty, that finds opportunity in every twist and turn. Where others see danger, you see potential. Where others see risk, you see a chance to disrupt the status quo. And while they hold tight to their rigid structure, their desperate need to create a world they can predict, you let go. You embrace the unknown, the unpredictable, the chaotic energy that flows through you and the world around you. And in doing so, you become the master of your own fate. Their need for structure, for certainty, for order, is what makes them weak. They think that by controlling everything around them, by making the world predictable and manageable, they are safe. But they don't understand that the safety they cling to is an illusion. It's a fragile system built on the belief that if they follow the rules, they will stay in control. But the truth is that real power doesn't come from creating rules, it comes from breaking them. Real power doesn't come from adhering to the system, it comes from existing outside of it. While they waste their energy trying to control the world, trying to force it into a mold they can manage, you are free. You are free to adapt, free to grow, free to change direction at a moment's notice without fear, without hesitation. You are not bound by their structure, you are not dependent on their approval, and because of that, you are untouchable. You can navigate through any obstacle, find your way through any challenge, and stay steps ahead of anyone who tries to box you in. You have learned to use chaos to your advantage, while they are stuck in their predictable loops, fighting for control over something they will never truly own. You are constantly evolving, constantly adapting, constantly moving forward, always ahead of them. And as long as they keep trying to impose their structure on you, they will always be playing catch-up. You are the game they can't win. You are the force they can't predict. You are the chaos that turns their world upside down. And that, my friend, is the true power. They were so used to controlling you, so accustomed to shaping your every move, that the moment you began to break free, it rattled them. Your freedom, your complete liberation from their chains, became their greatest fear. They wanted you dependent. They wanted you compliant. They wanted you to seek their permission, their validation, their approval. But you've shifted. You've seen through their game. And now, you are no longer bound by their expectations. You no longer care about the rules they set for you, the box they tried to put you in, or the path they tried to force you to walk. Your freedom terrifies them because it reveals a truth they never wanted to face. You don't need them. For so long, you explained yourself. You tried to make them understand why you were different, why you didn't fit into their mold, why you couldn't follow their script. You made excuses for the way you moved, for the choices you made, for the risks you took. But that was before. Now, you don't explain yourself anymore. You don't justify your actions, your thoughts, your desires, your needs. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe anyone an apology for being exactly who you are. You just act. You act on your own terms. You move without hesitation. You make decisions based on your own understanding of the world, not theirs. They can't understand you, and they never will. They want you to fit into their narrative, to follow the script they wrote for you. But now they're the ones left trying to figure out your story. They're trying to predict your next move, trying to impose their structure on your life, trying to understand a person who's completely outside of their control. And the truth is, they can't. They will never understand you because you are no longer playing by their rules. Your power lies in your ability to act without asking for permission, to move without fear of judgment, to live in a way that is authentic to who you truly are. You've realized that you are the author of your own story, and you don't need anyone to approve of it. You are not their puppet. You are not a character in their script. You are the lead role in your own journey, and you decide how it unfolds. They thought they could trap you. They thought they could keep you in their world, living by their standards, following their script, but they underestimated you. They underestimated your ability to rewrite your own story. They underestimated the strength it would take to break free from the lies they fed you. Now they're left watching as you soar, as you live on your own terms, and they can't do a thing to stop it. Because your freedom is unstoppable, your independence is unshakable, and that, more than anything, terrifies them. They thought they had you cornered. They thought they had broken you. They thought that by pushing you to your limits, by trapping you in a web of lies, by making you doubt yourself, they could control you. They thought you would give up. They thought you would bend. They thought you would be nothing more than another casualty of their manipulation, another failure, another example of someone who couldn't survive the system they built. But what they never realized, what they failed to understand, was that you were never playing by their rules. You were always 10 steps ahead, watching, planning, moving with precision and purpose, waiting for the moment to rise. They underestimated you. They thought they knew your breaking point. They thought they knew where your limits were. They thought they could break your spirit, crush your will to fight, destroy your desire to rise, but they didn't realize that you were never going to break. They didn't understand that every hit, every failure, every setback only made you stronger. Every moment they thought they had defeated you, you were already plotting your comeback. Every time they thought they had pushed you into submission, you were quietly regaining your power. And now, the game is yours. Now they see the truth. The game they tried to play, they can't win anymore. The rules they set up for you, the ones they thought were unbreakable, they don't apply to you anymore. They thought they were in control, but now, you hold the cards. You decide how the story ends. You decide how to play, and you play it better than anyone ever thought possible. You are the master of the game they tried to control, and now you've rewritten the rules. You've created your own path, and now it's your turn to take what's rightfully yours. Every move you made, every challenge you faced, every obstacle you overcame, it was all leading to this moment. You've outgrown their limitations. You've shed the chains they tried to wrap around you. You've stepped into your power, into your greatness, and now the world is yours to conquer. You've turned their game on its head, you've shattered their expectations, and now they have no choice but to watch as you rise higher than they ever imagined. They thought they had won, but they never knew you. They never saw the depth of your strength. They never realized that they were never your enemy. The only enemy was the version of you that listened to them, that believed their lies, that played by their rules. But now that version is gone. The game belongs to you, and no one, not them, not anyone, can ever take that from you again. You are no longer the person they thought you were. The version of you they knew, the one who played by their rules, the one who sought their approval, the one who fit neatly into their expectations, is gone. That person was never truly you. That was the version of you they created, the one they wanted to keep small, compliant, predictable. But you've outgrown them. You've shed that skin, burned it away, and in its place something stronger, something fiercer, something unstoppable has emerged. You've risen from the ashes of their lies. Every word they spoke to put you down, every time they tried to limit your potential, every time they tried to control your future, they only fueled the fire that now burns within you. You didn't break. You didn't bow to their demands. You took their rejection, their doubt, their hatred, and you used it as fuel for your transformation. They thought they were destroying you, but what they didn't realize is that they were only helping you become who you were always meant to be. Now, you stand tall. Now you see yourself as you truly are. Not the person they tried to mold, not the person they tried to tear down, but the person who has always been hidden beneath their lies, beneath their limitations, beneath the walls they built around you. And that person is powerful. That person is limitless. That person is the force they never saw coming. You are no longer waiting for permission to be great. You no longer need anyone's validation, anyone's approval, anyone's acceptance to step into your power. You don't need their approval to chase your dreams, to pursue your goals, to stand tall in the face of everything they tried to hold you back from. Because now you know that the only person who can grant you permission is you. You've stopped asking for the green light, stopped waiting for someone to tell you that you're worthy. You know your worth, and it's time to show the world just how much you're capable of. The old you was bound by their rules. The new you is bound by nothing. The old you was afraid of rejection, afraid of stepping out of line, afraid of being too much. The new you is fearless. The new you is unapologetic. The new you understands that greatness doesn't ask for permission. It demands action. It demands courage. It demands resilience. And you are all of those things. The past can no longer define you. The version of yourself that was shaped by their expectations is no longer part of your story. You have burned the old self, and from the ashes you have risen into someone who understands their power, who understands that they are not bound by the limitations others try to place on them. You are not the person they knew. You are the person you always were meant to be. And now the world will see it. The moment you stepped into your power, you knew something changed. You knew that the world around you would never be the same, and neither would you. But what you may not have anticipated, the price of power, is that it comes with weight. It's not something that can be carried lightly. Power demands your full presence, your commitment, your willingness to rise above everything that seeks to drag you back down. It requires you to hold steady, to stand tall, to embrace the responsibility that comes with being a force that cannot be ignored. When you embrace your true power, when you stop living in fear, when you take control of your destiny, you're no longer the same person. You've stepped into a life that few have the courage to claim. It's not a life of ease. It's not a life without struggle, and it's certainly not a life where people will simply bow down and respect your strength. No. The moment you claim your power, you will face opposition. You will face resistance. People will try to bring you back to the version of yourself they could control. They will try to make you doubt yourself again. But now you know better. Now you are strong enough to stand firm. The weight of power is not something to shy away from. It's not something to fear. It's something to wear proudly, as a crown forged from your struggles, your pain, your resilience. When you step into your true power, you'll find that the world doesn't make room for you. They will try to close the door, try to stop your momentum, try to make you feel as though you're too much, too loud, too disruptive. But here's the truth. Those who wield power do not wait for permission. They do not ask for room. They take what is theirs. They claim the space they deserve and they hold on to it, regardless of the resistance they face. People will try to drag you down, to keep you small, to remind you of your past, to remind you of the limits they once placed on you. But here's the thing. Now, they can't reach you. They can't pull you back into the cage they built, because you've already flown far beyond it. You've broken free, and no amount of judgment, no amount of opposition, no amount of negativity will ever be enough to drag you down again. You are untouchable now. The walls they put up to confine you are no longer there. You've left them behind, and now they can only watch as you rise higher than they ever imagined. This is the life of those who refuse to be controlled. The ones who take their destiny into their own hands, who rewrite the rules, who play by their own terms. It's not a life for the faint of heart. It's not a life for those who seek comfort, for those who want to play it safe, for those who are afraid of what others think. The price of power is the willingness to sacrifice the comfort of predictability, to embrace the challenge, to face down every attempt to pull you back and to stand tall in the face of it all. The price of power is the courage to walk a path that few dare to tread, to become the kind of person who leaves the world forever changed. Are you ready for this? Are you ready to bear the weight of your own greatness? Because the moment you choose power, you choose the life that comes with it. And there is no going back. This is it. The moment that will define everything. You've fought, you've struggled, you've overcome the darkness that once threatened to swallow you whole. You've broken free from their chains, shed their lies, and risen from the ashes of their expectations. You've gone through the fire and emerged stronger, sharper, more powerful than ever before. But now, the real test begins. The choice is yours, and it's a choice that will decide your fate. You can go back. You can slip into the comfort of what was, the safety of being a pawn in their game, playing by their rules, following their script. You can return to the shadows and let them continue to control your every move. Or you can step into the light. You can claim your power. You can become the force they never saw coming, the one they never expected, the one they can never stop. You've heard their whispers. You've seen the way they try to pull you back, drag you down, remind you of the person you used to be. They want you to stay small. They want you to stay complacent. They want you to believe that your strength is too much, that your power is dangerous, that you're not meant to rise above them. But here's the truth. They never had control over you. They never understood the depth of your potential. They never saw the real power inside you, the one that was just waiting to be unleashed. The moment you chose to break free, you stepped into a new realm. You left behind the limitations they tried to place on you. And now, it's time to claim what's yours. The time for waiting is over. You've been patient. You've endured. You've worked through the doubts, the fears, the setbacks, but now there is no more hesitation. Now is the time to step up. Now is the time to take what's rightfully yours. The life, the power, the success, the freedom that you were always meant to have. No more excuses, no more waiting for the perfect moment, no more wondering if you're ready. You are ready. You have always been ready. The only thing left now is for you to take what is yours and own it. So I ask you, are you ready to take what's yours? Are you ready to become the person they never thought you could be? The person they feared all along? Because this moment, this decision, it's the turning point. You can either shrink back, let the world keep dictating your path, and go back to being a pawn, or you can rise up, embrace your power, and become the force that changes everything. The choice is yours. The game is yours to win. Are you ready to own it?